Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. on Monday, January 14th, 2019. Kathy, if you would please call the roll.
Kathleen Abbruzzese. Brian Doyle.
Here.
Jason Ciano.
Here?
Keith Libby.
Here.
Kimberly Farah.
Here.
Sheila Rose.
Here.
Sarah Markham. Sean O'Neill.
Here.
Caitlin Cornell.
Here.
Kristen Savage. Susan Sherman. Jennifer Silva.
Here.
James Sweeney.
Here.
Karen Yusenko.
Here.
Seated this evening are the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Earl Metzler, Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Roxanne Wilson, CFO Business Administrator, Mr. Jeff Gabb.
Okay, Jim, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing on the 2019-2020 proposed SAU budget. Ask that if any members of the public wish to speak on the budget, they identify themselves by name and the town that they're from.
Mr. Cipriano, I would have a question. Is that if people from the board have questions, should we do that after the public?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to do this, I'll just do this 3 times, just so that it's clear on the record. Does any member of the public wish to make a comment on the proposed SAU55 budget? Does any member of the public wish to make a comment on the proposed SAU55 budget? One more time. Any member of the public wish to make any comments on the proposed SAU55 budget? Seeing no individuals wishing to make comments on the proposed budget, I will close the public hearing on the 2019-2020 proposed SAU budget. And to Mr. O'Neill's point, the board will now have the opportunity to approve the budget and allocate and send it for allocation to the respective districts. But the board also has the ability to modify the budget or discuss the budget as they see fit.
Okay.
So is there a discussion on the proposed budget? Mr. O'Neill.
Yes, I have a question in regards to the workman's comp line. That line went up about 50%. Can we understand why it went up?
That line went up. Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Dow.
That line went up based on the trend that we had been seeing in terms of the increases in that workers' compensation line.
Do we have no quote from our insurance carrier that that's what it's going to be? I mean, that's, as you can see, it's been pretty linear for the 3 preceding years, and then all of a sudden it's a spike, 50%. If we don't have something in a quote from somebody that says it's going to be going up that high, it's a little bit high to, justify a 50% increase.
Mr. Boyle.
Well, if I'm reading this right, it's $1,300, right?
Correct? It's a 50% increase, though.
I understand. I mean, workman's comp is, usually it's, when you say a quote, workman's comp is usually based on the labor category,
Correct.
so it's not, you don't get a quote.
But doing this before, the office staff categorization would not change.
Yeah.
So you're not, going from one job description that has a higher risk than another. And that's why it follows a trend. So why would we go up 50%? That was my main question. Did we have claims that would justify that? Did we have, I mean, there's got to be some kind of reason.
I'm looking for you right now.
Mr. Cipriano.
Yes, go ahead.
While he's looking on that, I'm just booting up my laptop because I kind of just want to look at if we had that same sort of increase in the Timberlane budget, just to see if maybe there's some rationale there. I don't recall it, so
I don't recall it either. That's why it caught my eye.
That we're seeing this.
Okay.
maybe it was increased for that other position that wasn't filled? You would have to, you would have had to increase benefits for a position.
Dollar for dollar claim, or is this risk pool? No, does this number get adjusted because we're in a risk pool?
I think that's a broader issue.
That's my question. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, the claims could come from somewhere else,
Right.
and it would make our premium go up a bit.
Fair enough.
I don't know if that's clearly not a dollar for dollar, like, benefit paid out, I don't think.
It's usually function category of the position and then the annual compensation for that position. So keeping everything relatively the same, that's why that number's been pretty much level funded for 3 years. And all of a sudden, it's going up 50%. And I want to just understand the justification for that.
Yes, Ms. Silva.
So the actual for last year was a little bit higher than what was budgeted. I would just wonder if, historically, if our actual was a little bit higher than what we budgeted, which would account for any increase. I don't know. 'Cause we only have 1 year of actual in here.
Sean, to your point, are you saying that it's the premiums added up by position comes up with that number?
Who, me? I'm asking,
I know what you're asking, but category-wise, you're saying,
well, I mean, you're going to have people that are in, you know, if you take workman's comp for a police officer and a workman's comp for a office staff, there's going to be, even though they could be making the same dollar amount, the police officer, because they're going to have a lot more inherent risk,
Yeah.
and rightfully so, it's going to cost you more. But the categorization of positions, and this is my assumption, of course, is that at the SAU, they're not drastically changing. They're still probably considered in the office staff, and that pretty much, and it's got a big footprint of positions that it covers for a particular risk assessment. That's not going to change, and so that's the premium, the 50% adder. Imagine you getting your homeowner's insurance and it went up 50%.
yeah, no,
I mean,
I follow what you're saying. My question is that number is just the premiums added up for the positions, right? That covers all the positions? I understand you're saying, how does it go up 50%? If it was underfunded in years past, which I think is what we're starting to hear, maybe that's where the increase is, but that's, I'm waiting for the answer just like you are.
Yep.
Okay. Dr. Farrar?
Just for comparative purposes, off the Timberlane budget, in 17-18, it was voted at 182,164. This year's voted as 193,272. Next year's requested is 193,000. So I don't see that same level of increase in our budget,
Okay.
just for comparison purposes.
Mr. Boyle?
Yeah, and I guess I'm looking at the overall totals there, if I'm reading this right. We're like within $50,000 of what was spent.
On what, on the actual?
Actual to budget.
The actual budget. So,
Yep.
so I mean, it would, yeah, I don't know. I think we're,
Well,
I think you're pretty good.
if I may, we're looking at an actual 16-17 of $872. 2,900, as you can see, 2920 reported, 1718 actual.
I think Brian's talking about the overall budget.
Yes.
Not
I'm
the
sorry.
line.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course, I'm sorry.
I'm talking the overall budget, so
Okay.
I think we reviewed the heck out of it last time, so I think appreciate the question, but I think,
There's no further discussion.
all right.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed budget for allocation of the Hampstead and Timberlane 2019-2020 budgets.
Point of order, first of all, I'd like to make a motion that we do weighted voting.
Okay, motion's been made for weighted voting. Okay, by Timberlane, is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Lowe's?
Sheila?
Okay, just for the Timberlane members, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous among the Timberlane members who are present. Okay. So I'm willing to entertain that motion once again to approve the budget and allocate to the respective school districts.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made, motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? The second was Ms. Savage. Okay. Dr. Farr.
I just want to make sure that that gets sent out to the respective boards and budget committees so that that can be adjusted in our respective budgets as soon as possible.
Okay. Yep.
I don't know when we'll be having, changes to those.
Okay, fair enough. Yep.
I think
Just
without changes, I think we should be able to get that to you first thing, Kathy? Is that? And
Yes, it was Mr. Boyle's motion. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? And any abstentions? We have one abstention.
and we have to get Sean an answer.
Yep.
We didn't really answer that question, so we'll get that to you? Okay.
Before you do that vote, you're going to vote down.
Oh, I apologize.
At the same time, I would appreciate it.
Okay, so
All those in favor?
yeah, that's fine. We'll do that one more time. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? And then abstentions. Okay. So that passes, so that the budget is approved for allocation to the respective school districts, and that'll be provided to those districts. Next agenda item, contract signing authority as requested by the Timberlane Board. So the Timberlane Board would like if I understand it correctly, and I'll allow the Timberlane Board to make the motion, but a motion to rescind the motion to authorize the SAU Board Chair to sign professional contracts that was adopted in our April 4th meeting. Is that accurate?
I would say any
That's-
contract.
It's,
I don't, I'm,
Yes.
any
that's-
member of
do
the
you want me-
Timberlane.
Do you want to take this, or do you want me to take it, Brian? You're the vice chair, so.
that was the discussion that,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that put it on the agenda.
Okay,
But I believe the formal action, the more accurate action, I think, is to, like to make a motion that all contracts, extension of all contracts, have both the chair and vice chair's signatures on them.
okay. So the motion on the floor, is that any extension contract requires both the chair and vice chair's signature. Is that accurate, Mr. Boyle? I just want to make sure that I'm accurate in what your motion is.
I mean, all contracts.
All contracts.
All contracts all contracts are, thank you, or extensions that would be exercised by this board would require the signature of both the chair and the vice chair going forward.
I'll second that.
Okay. Dr. Metzler?
I think the first request of the board was to have the process explained about how this is done, because it is different. There's several moving parts to this. You're right, but it's different because you have new members that weren't here as part of the previous vote. It's different because it has been put on the agenda as opposed to being brought up at a meeting. There's a different threshold. Actually, there's less of a threshold because it's on the agenda. But we have some, you guys asked for that written explanation. Does everybody have it?
No.
No.
No,
Oh, okay. Well, that was the first thing you asked for, right? So,
no, we don't have any right now.
Did anybody receive it?
I did. So I have the notice for Mr. O'Shaughnessy, which is why I was asking what you were asking for. So the process is governed by parliamentary rules and not the law. And a simple majority of all members that is present is necessary for the motion to pass. Although there's weighted voting, so that'll take into account.
Point of clarification, is that for, I know we didn't go this route, but just to understand the process, is that for rescinding a vote?
That's correct, for rescinding the motion to authorize.
it complicated I'm sorry, can I?
Yes.
What complicated things was that the board changed? So there's like a different, it's different than a yes vote rescinding. You have an opportunity to reconsider, and that's, because it's a new body, and it's two ways to do it. This is probably the better way of putting it on the, and then it's simple majority, I think is what the way the language read, so that was good.
I think it's just cleaner, and then this way, each, as it stands right now with the chair and vice chair, each board, Hampstead and Timberlane, is represented going forward with any signing of contracts.
Dr. Ferrer?
I think part of the reason this was brought up, and Mr. Cipriano, correct me if I'm wrong, but upon review of the contracts, it appears that you signed new 3-year contracts for at least 3 of the SAU staff when they were midway through their a 3-year contract. That to me is not a practice I am familiar with. Did you have some rationale for doing that?
I signed employment contracts for our employees that I thought were appropriate.
But they were already under a contract that did not expire for at least another 2 years.
I understand.
So you didn't have any rationale? I've never seen that done before.
Okay.
Actually, if I could?
Yes.
It is a common practice in New Hampshire that, and not that we necessarily had it here, that you're always in the first year of the contract, right? It's not, I know that you're thinking the way we write them, they end in 3 years, but there's like an automatic renewal, so everyone's always in the first year of a 3-year contract, unless some other action is taken. That happens a lot in New Hampshire, not here. So I got everybody on the same cycle. So everyone in the SAU is on the same cycle, everyone in Timberlane's on the same cycle, so that we're not beginning and ending at different periods in terms of contracts.
I guess that is my point. It may happen in New Hampshire, but it typically does not happen here. That is my point.
Well, your point meaning there's two different things. The one thing that happens in New Hampshire is typically people have the restarting of a 3-year contract. They're always in the first year. I get that. I don't necessarily agree with the second part. When you say typically, lots of different things have happened here over the years, before I was here and when I've been here. So we have renewed contracts that were in the middle of a contract before in years past. This very board has done it several times since I've been here, with me personally. So it is a common practice here at SAU55
Okay.
to renew contracts in the middle of a cycle.
That's accurate.
Yep.
Ms. Silva?
I'm just trying to understand what you just said. You're always in the first year of a new contract? Is that?
No, the language, it's not in our contracts, but if you saw some New Hampshire administrators' contracts, like, for instance, I think, I'm not 100% sure if this is the district, but Wyndham and Pelham, I think, have done that. So they hire, you get a contract, I can't remember
It's a rolling contract.
it's a rolling contract, which means you're always in the first year of the 3 years unless the board takes some sort of action.
So what's the point of having a 3-year contract then?
Well, it's not to end.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're always going to be in the first year, then why not just go year to year?
It's language that people would negotiate into a contract for security. So it wouldn't be like a 36-month contract. I mean, it wouldn't be like a beginning and ending at 36 months. You'd always have 2 years' notice on a contract. I guess that's the purpose behind it. Who's it benefit? The employer and the employee, it depends on what lens you're looking at. It could potentially benefit both, or it could potentially only benefit one side or the other, depending on, again, how you look at it. But that is typical language in New Hampshire.
Okay.
In
Dr.
contracts.
Ferrer?
Contractually, there is not you do not have 2 years on these contracts as they are now written as 3-year contracts. If you look at the language, Mrs. Silva pointed this out several months ago when we tried to get this on the agenda regarding the fact that the policy needs to be adjusted to reflect what is in the contract as far as notification, and it is not 2 years. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I think it's 12 months, is it not?
You're mixing apples and oranges here. I'm talking about different language than the language we have. Yeah, we're talking about rolling contracts, and you're talking about our contracts, two entirely different things.
Okay,
You have them
all
mixed
right.
up.
I'm not.
All right, fair enough. Hold on, I want Ms. Silva to respond.
If I remember correctly, so the contracts that are in place, I don't have them in front of me, but are set to renew with, they automatically renew unless there's notification within 6 months. But our policy is that we don't review those until the spring, which means we've missed the 6-month window, which would be December. So our policy is not aligning with the contracts.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, Mr. Cipriano, have you entered in any other contracts that this board is unaware of? Because to be honest with you, none of us knew that you had extended these contracts.
Not that I'm aware of.
So those are the only contracts that you're saying that you have signed now on this board's behalf? Are those, is it three, Kim? That was it? 3 employment contracts with the SAU?
Those are the ones that I know of, that I can recall. Yes. Silva?
Is there a mechanism in place to update that policy so that policy is aligned with?
Yeah, we can put on a future agenda to update the policy to align, consistent with what you're asking for. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Should I make that motion? Oh, no, you have a motion.
No, we have a
Sorry,
motion on the
I forgot you had a
floor.
motion, yeah.
I don't think so. It's clear, and it makes sense,
Thank you.
update that policy. Yes, Dr.
Can I just
Wilson?
ask a clarifying question?
Yep.
When I hear signing all contracts, do you mean employment contracts? Or do you also mean contracts such as bidding and, I'm not sure it's clear, so I just.
Vendors?
I mean all contracts, because there's not a lot of contracts at the SAU level compared to like Timberlane.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate.
I just,
Yep.
clarity was needed.
Yep.
That's a contract.
Can I ask?
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Didn't we have to do a contract for the new time clock service? And did we also have to do a contract for the fingerprinting service?
I don't think that's one that came before the board.
Yeah. So would that be considered the contracts that they're referencing?
Those are service contracts.
Yeah.
And sometimes they may be specific to something we purchase Timberlane and then we bill, SAU bills out, and, right?
Yeah, and typically our practice has been that we direct the superintendent to negotiate and to sign the contract. The chair typically doesn't sign those contracts. The board directs the superintendent on its behalf to negotiate and sign those contracts for services like that. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Can we read the motion again? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yep, sorry. Kathy, do you want to?
Mr. Board, motion that all contracts or extensions of contracts require the signature of both the chair and the vice chair. That was seconded by Dr. Barrett.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Calculation?
No, well, it's clear that motion passed. You'll do the calculations, but it's clear to the chair that passed. Dr. Metzler? You have something?
Just for process, I guess. Do you need to rescind the previous action that was taken before you take a new action? Because that's a different action than the action that you already had agreed upon. I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Supersede. If that's the case, I'll make a motion to rescind the previous motion that gave the chair the authorization.
Okay. Just to clean it up, I'll allow that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. This is to rescind the previous action of the board. That was the April 4th authorization for the SAU chair to sign professional contracts and other instruments. Kathleen?
So with rescinding a motion that was in place and authorized for several months, what does that do? How does that clarify anything?
It's just to remove that motion, and then it'd be superseded anyway by this motion that just passed.
Yeah.
Just stay forward,
Just to,
right?
yeah.
And there
Well, yeah,
was-
it's effective right now, or, well, whenever the vote's taken.
The only other thing that you signed, because I'm not sure, is the engagement letter for the auditing firm.
Okay.
That was signed in
Yep.
July. Are we considering engagement letters contracts? This is where it's going to get,
That's what I mean.
you know.
Look, I'll be
But-
honest with if there's something that comes up, an instrument, I'll just ask the board.
It's what I would expect.
Perfect.
Okay, is there any further discussion? This is on the motion to rescind. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, that passes. Next, non-public session. Chair will entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A:3, paragraph 2, parts C and L.
Mr. Cipriano, can I have a
Yes.
point of order? Can I ask a question first,
Yes.
please? Do we not have any minutes from our last meeting?
Yeah, we haven't had minutes like approved like since ever.
Double back.
Do we do? Okay. You can print those out? Well, let's do the non-public and then we can do the minutes. If you have them readily available.
I just,
I'm asking if they're readily available. If not, then we can get to them at the next agenda.
When would that be? Because I remember I asked you last meeting if these minutes were going to be addressed because they haven't been, and you said, yeah, the next agenda, which would be tonight. And they're not here, so we almost going to have a full year with no approved minutes.
Okay.
And of course, no official video either.
So I'm looking for that motion for the non-public session.
You're looking for the motion for both C and L?
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Silva, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. O'Neill. Any discussion? Seeing as there is no discussion, Kathy, if you would please poll the board.
Mr. Albertini?
No.
Mr. Boyle?
Yes.
Mr. Cipriano?
No.
Mr. Gidi?
Yes.
Dr. Farah?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
yes.
Mrs. Martinez not here. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
No.
Mrs. Savage?
Yes.
Mrs. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
And Mrs. Yasenka?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, no. 7 in favor, 5 opposed.
Okay. So that passes. So we will go into non-public session to ask the guests that are here this evening to please step out. Mark will be remaining. I have one item of other business to come before the board. I did receive prior to this meeting a letter from Dr. Wilson. Please accept this letter of my formal notification of my intent to retire on July 1st, 2019. I'm giving you the 6-month notice to ensure a smooth transition. So Dr. Wilson is looking to retire or leave the SAU on July 1st, 2019. So,
Do you need a motion to accept
yep,
that?
I would like a motion to accept.
I'd like to motion to accept with regret Roxanne's, Dr. Wilson's retirement.
Okay,
Second.
and seconded by Mrs. Sherman. You got that, Kathy?
I got it, thank you.
Is there any discussion?
I would like to say, oh, sorry.
Oh, hold on, I'll get Mr. Boyle first, then I'll come back to you.
I'm sure I'm probably going to say something along the lines of Kathy Abruzzi, but yeah, she's awesome. So I'm kind of hoping that if we know that the superintendent is he's had a couple of interviews, and I'm hoping that the board extends a door to Dr. Wilson if she can help us out in the future, part-time, full-time, whatever, if she's available. Would just love to have her.
Okay, Catherine?
I've just really appreciated working with Dr. Wilson and learning from her these past few years, and she will be missed. She is an incredible asset.
I'll say for myself that I've worked with Dr. Wilson over the years that I've been on the board. I've appreciated my interactions with her. I found her to be thoroughly knowledgeable and very helpful as I've progressed as a board member, and she'll be missed. Ms. Sherman?
From the Timberlane point of view, when I first met her, she was working with our nurses and guidance office and therapists, and she was wonderful with our student services. And then when she took over to be the assistant superintendent, she's absolutely a perfect professional. She's a process person. She understands education, gentle with her words. I will miss her terribly.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Is it unanimous? No other business to come before the board. I'll then entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would like to bring up something.
Yep.
We had talked about other meetings for the board. Do we have an idea when we're going to have them? And two is, where do we stand with our minutes kind of thing, so that we can get this done?
Sorry, thank you. Actually, Kathy, I think you have the minutes. Regarding the other meeting, I'd like to what we discussed in non-public, let's let that play out, and then I can pull the board and see when there's availability based on the responses, and that way we have something.
Could we have like a date that we agree on, and then if we have to move that, we could move it? It just
Yeah.
seems trying to get things on the record of when we're gonna do things seems to be, sort of a hill to climb.
We can schedule a tentative meeting. My concern is that we haven't established a time frame for the thing that we discussed, and therefore,
How about we do it, say, third week in February? That reasonable?
what are people's calendars?
Deliberative, and third week is our vacation.
It would be the
That's the
20th.
week before vacation.
It's, yeah, it's vacation.
What about the first week in March? Then elections
It's
are,
elections,
no, but I thought it was,
12.
Second
elections are
Tuesday.
the
Wrong with the
12th.
20th.
so.
All right, so the 6th,
Coming into
that would be?
elections, I should have said, sorry.
What,
What was wrong with
March
the 20th?
6th.
What was wrong with the 20th?
not available, I'm on vacation.
Okay.
I'm not available either.
When?
What was wrong with February 20th?
February 20th isn't
And people
vacation.
missing, she said. Lee's missing.
The
week-
6th I'm missing.
I meant the 6th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Yep.
not here on the 6th.
The 20th is the week before vacation. That would be,
February 20th?
So tentative date, February 20th.
When is
That
it?
is just
I can
too,
pull- I can-
that's just too
I can pull
close
the,
to.
yeah, I
It's
can
on
pull
the
the board,
5th.
if people's, depending on schedules and things like that.
okay.
Okay. All right, Kathy, you have the minutes.
I fly out the next day, but I don't think I
Just take a pack, because there's 4 sets in each one, okay?
Oh,
So they're
okay.
going different ways to kind of
Alright.
help them all stay together.
Okay.
Take the first pack.
No, take
whole
the first pack
The whole pack.
and then pass
it
the whole
along.
pack next.
Perfect, thank you,
There you
Kathy.
go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not messing
No,
up.
me.
Okay, don't mess it up.
I almost,
Okay, don't mess it up.
This is Sharon, you've got a pair, you've got a set of sealed ones here
okay.
as well.
Didn't take the whole.
Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't take the whole packet. Sorry.
We're going so, it was going so well.
Sorry.
What didn't you get?
I didn't get the stapled.
Sorry, Lee Newman.
There's one under the staple
There was one
too.
under the stapled.
Sorry.
You have-
Oh, wait,
you
oh,
have
sorry.
4.
I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on, Lee, we might have some spares.
How many dates do you have there?
I have the 17th.
Board members, not like the
Passed out
others.
people.
4, it's 4.
17th, 14th, 28th, 28th. So you're missing.
Single, single, stapled, single.
Single stapled, I did the last single.
We need the last one. We need December 28th single.
Brian doesn't need any. You want to?
Nope, I've got the, nope, never mind.
Never
I'm good.
mind, Sarah
I'm
has it.
good. I'm all right. I'm good. Sorry. I was fixing my calendar. I got distracted.
Sure, you can read on.
It's definitely not. I've been up since 4:30 this morning. All right. That's what happened.
Move to accept the minutes of October 17th.
Okay, motion's been made to accept the minutes of October 17th. Is there a second?
Second.
Yes.
That meeting, that video is uploaded for public viewing?
Yep.
I can speak to the Vimeo. Following our December 17th meeting, on the 18th, I looked into that, and I provided a pretty lengthy explanation to the chair, so I hope the chair shared that with the Timberlane board regarding you looking to have that Vimeo posted. I'm not sure if you got that explanation or not. By the look on your face, probably not, right?
I don't even
So-
know who you're talking to. If you're talking to me,
Yeah, well, you had asked. Remember you had asked about getting the Vimeo up? So the next day I went,
yeah,
I
I had a
said,
file right to know.
was SAU business, whatever. So I looked at, why isn't it up? So anyway, I provided a pretty lengthy explanation to the chair following day regarding the 18th of December, the day after the meeting. I tried to get the Vimeo. You asked that night at the meeting, that Thursday night? Unless I got the date wrong. No, I'm sorry, I got the date wrong. It was the 20th. It was that Thursday of that week. Remember you asked late in the meeting?
I believe
I
it
don't-
was the November 14th meeting.
No, not an SAU meeting, a Timberlane meeting.
Oh.
And I know it's Timberlane business, but it's appropriate for this conversation. So, looked into it, we had no more space available to put any Vimeos up until after we got back from vacation. And you notice that first day back from vacation, they started pounding out the Vimeos. It was like, they must have put 10 on, or 15, all we used up. But it's up now. It's up now, but I
So
couldn't
the-
get.
so the
I
answer
just
is,
before I just.
the answer to the
before
question
I-
is yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, then
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah, the answer to the question is yes, but there was a long, lengthy explanation, and we keep asking the same question. I've already answered it through the chair, and obviously the members aren't getting the
That's fine.
answers.
No, are
That's
all
fine.
of, can I just, for all of these meetings, all of these meetings are posted
I thought I forwarded it to you, buddy, but.
Vimeo, you mean?
on Vimeo, November 14th, December 28th. Meetings are up.
like he did.
Really?
Whichever one, there was one that wasn't, one or two that weren't up, I guess, that they go into the queue, and then they start downloading them, and they can only take so many, and we run out of.
It's like a
bandwidth?
subscription
Is that what it's called?
space. I think it's like a subscription space that
We have so much
renews annually.
space, and then
Because
it's
we had
full, and
discussed this
then
when we were discussing
it
live
started- That's why
stream
that
a couple
3rd
years
or
ago.
4th of January, there was like
It's-
a whole bunch of stuff from December, but that was an earlier, much
Okay.
earlier
You
meeting.
know, I'm just asking because before I vote to approve, I just want to know that
Okay.
we don't need a lot of information in here because the full transcript of the meeting is in the video. and is in-
However, these are the official record.
Yep.
The
I
Vimeo
understand.
is not official records.
I understand.
All right, so motion on the floor is to approve the October 17th, 2018 meeting minutes. All those in favor? Looks to be unanimous. Okay. I'll entertain another motion.
Move to accept the minutes of November 14th.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes of November 14th, 2018. It's made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? This is the November 14th meeting minutes? Looks to be unanimous.
No,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I haven't read, I didn't read through them all yet. I'll abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Okay. All right. So you want to keep it going?
Move to accept the minutes of December 28th at 7 PM.
So the 7
Public-
PM.
The public minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made, motion's been seconded. Any discussion? I was ma, okay, sorry, Kathy, you got that? Okay. Okay. Any discussion?
This is for just the public minutes, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
This is the December 28th. Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay. Yep, I believe that Mr. Dubey was the abstention. Okay. Sue, one more in this group.
Move to accept the non-public minutes in session 2, unsealed, these are unsealed, of December 28th.
Okay, so December 28th, non-public session 2, meeting minutes, motion's been made to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? And any abstentions? Kathy, if you would distribute the sealed minutes?
Excuse me.
Yep.
I'm assuming we're looking to adjourn after this at
Yep, potentially, yep.
1.
Yep.
Just one and pass it on.
Do you have enough this time, or are you short too?
Please, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. I didn't know what you were asking me when you were just hold it. I don't think so. Thank you. I don't know what to do about that.
Okay, so I'll accept a motion to accept the December 28th, non-public session 1 sealed minutes,
So moved.
made by Ms. Sherman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. McNamara. Any discussion?
Do we think that this, I don't know how I want to phrase this question. Do we think that this needs to be sealed? Or this is already sealed, isn't it?
These are
This is
sealed.
Sealed.
Are sealed, okay.
Yeah, these are already
So
sealed.
Even accepting them that they're gonna continue to be sealed?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, all right.
All right, all those in favor?
This is for approval, correct?
Yes.
Approving the note.
These are just to accept. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay,
Yeah, these have to go back.
okay, so if you could just pass those back. I'm passing them all back, but at least the sealed. At least the sealed minutes. All right, sorry.
Okay, just the
I started passing them all.
I felt like.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Silva.
Page 3 of December 28th minutes, 3/4 of the way down the bottom, talks about January 14th deadline for job descriptions. We have those for this evening.
They are posted, you want them electronically, they're all posted to the SAU agenda packet. So I have a format, it's a document that has 13 job descriptions. The supers and the assistant supers are job descriptions of what we're doing.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other business to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Made by Ms. Sherman. Sorry, I didn't see the second. Sarah? Okay. All those in favor? It's unanimous. We are adjourned 9:38. Thank you, Dean.